Stressed Potato on YouTube. Let's stress potato. During closing arguments, why hadn't Johnny's lawyers play Amber's testimony from yesterday admitting to writing the op-ed about Johnny for the jury?
You know, I don't know why they didn't do that. I think that's a very good point to counter the argument that was coming out from Mr. Rottenborn, that article really was a global comment about domestic abuse, and it really wasn't designed to affect his reputation, because that's what they got to show. It was designed to hurt and harm Johnny Depp. I don't know why they didn't play that. That's a very good question.
Yeah, because a lot of our viewers were saying that was a little bit of a slip-up from Amber Heard. And talking about again, we are going to take all your questions hour, but to give you a sense of what you might have missed, here's a portion of Johnny Depp's his closing argument from earlier this morning. Take a look.
The mountain of evidence that Mr. Depp abused Ms. Heard is simply not there. What we have is a mountain of unproven allegations that are wild, over the top, and implausible. And you can't pick and choose which of these wild allegations to believe and which ones to disregard. You either believe all of it or none of it. Either Mr. Depp sexually assaulted Ms. Heard with a bottle in Australia, or Ms. Heard got up on that stand in front of all of you and made up that horrific tale of abuse. Either she's a victim of truly horrific abuse, or she is a woman who is willing to say absolutely anything. It is disturbing to think that Ms. Heard would make up the horrific tales of abuse that she testified to in this courtroom. But this case doesn't come down to whether you believe Ms. Heard or you believe Mr. Depp. This case comes down to whether you believe Ms. Heard or you believe Mr. Depp, Christy Dombrowski, Sean Bett, Malcolm Connolly, Travis McGivern, Starling Jenkins, Keenan Wyatt, Dr. Kipper, nurses Debbie Lloyd and Aaron Filati, Tara Roberts, Ben King, Kate James, Kate Moss, Dr. Colber, Morgan Knight, Morgan Tremaine, Officers Melissa Sines, Officers Tyler Haddon, Officer William Gatlin, and Beverly Leonard. What Ms. Heard testified to in this courtroom is the story of far too many women. But the overwhelming evidence and weight of that evidence shows that it is not her story. It's not Ms. Heard's story.
Okay, a powerful moment there from Camille Vasquez saying you have to believe that Amber Heard is telling the truth and everyone else is not telling the truth. We're getting more of your questions right now on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, however you want to send them in. I have a question from Tammy Japink from YouTube. Did the judge just tell Amber's team that they only had 6 minutes left? That is correct. So there are time limits here for these closing arguments. Amber's team only has 6 minutes left for a rebuttal closing argument. Johnny Depp's team, 39 minutes. That's exactly how we know how much longer these closing arguments are going to go before deliberations begin. Okay, Catherine Luzardo, I have a question for you from Declan Cooley on Facebook. Did Amber's team deliberately misuse the term malice to mean maliciousness? Isn't that trying to mislead the jury?
Exactly. I caught on that, and we were talking about that during the break, that when Ellen Redehoff actually used malice to show sinister, that's not what actual malice is in this case, because we're talking about defamation. Remember that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are public figures. That's why the element of actual malice is included in the jury instructions. But actual malice means that you made the statement false, and knowing that it's so false and with such reckless disregard that it's tantamount to willful disregard of truth. But when she used it in her closing, she said, that Waldman, when he threw the paper at Amber Heard, that's malice, that's sinister. That's not what malice is. And you can see Camille and Ben Chu talking and trying to figure out, are we going to object here or not? Maybe we'll hear that in the rebuttal. And they should put that in their rebuttal.
They really should. That's such an important term. That's really the whole case. That's why when we talk about defamation, that actual malice standard is so important for the jury to understand the definition, and it's a really high definition. It's a really high standard. Okay, so now I'm going to go to you, Dina. We have a question from one of our Twitch followers, Corporal Roll Mops. What do they object to in a closing argument? I read somewhere that this can be seen as unprofessional. So do you think Johnny Depp's side looks bad since they objected a lot more?
Yeah.
You know, I think that Elaine was doing a fantastic job. And I say that as somebody who I think that Amber Heard was probably going to lose her case because of how many inconsistencies she has. But the way she had the facts and the legal arguments, and I think Johnny Depp's team realized that. And they were trying to make sure that if she said anything, it was, you know, really held to a high standard. But that could have really backfired because the jury wants to hear this. This is their last chance to kind of hear an uninterrupted version of events, and it makes it look like they have to. It looks a little bit desperate, I think, the number of times they objected to her.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Gene, I'll throw another question.
Sure.
One of our followers from Mexico, this is somebody who tweeted us. This is from @Amazing Andy. Amazing Andy. I thought you couldn't object on closing arguments. Why did Johnny Depp's attorneys do it? Ola from Mexico.
I was just in Mazatlan. There's two reasons why you object. One, the attorney for the other side is misstating the law. The other reason is they're misstating facts, grossly misstating facts. And there's actually a third reason, which is nefarious. An attorney is doing it to put the other side off stride. And I got to say this. Mr. Chu made some objections that I thought were okay. They were overruled, as I understand it. But you cross the line when you make too many objections during closing. I make very few because I think it looks bad in the eyes of the jury. You're trying to hide it. And if I'm getting up to respond to them, you know I'm going to address what they said.
So that's a really good point. And now we're talking about what the response is